creation process. So in part one of this video, we did part A, where we found the demand for central bank money. Now we want to do part B, where we want to write down the equilibrium condition for the money market, both in terms of M, money, and E, central bank money. So let's do the first part. Now in the case where the economy has a banking system, so we're looking at the role of banks here, has a banking system that collects deposits, financial market equilibrium or money market equilibrium, financial market equilibrium can be expressed in the following two equivalent ways. So we can express it in one of two ways. Expressed in the two following. When we did not have the role of banks, we just looked at money market equilibrium as where money supply is money demand. But in this case, there are two equivalent ways that we can look at money market equilibrium. Ways. So the first is going to be where HD is equal to HS. So in terms of central bank money. So the first way we can look at financial market equilibrium is in terms of demand and supply of central bank money, which is also known as high powered money. In terms of central bank money. Now HT over here represents a demand for central bank money. Demand for central bank money. We found this in part A. And HS represents supply of central bank money fixed by central bank, right? Which is fixed by central bank. The central bank directly controls the supply of central bank money. In this case, fixed at H is equal to 100. So we know from part A, demand for central bank money is 760 minus 3800 I, and supply for central bank money is fixed at 100. So this is one way in which we can write financial market equilibrium. We will solve for the equilibrium and illustrate in part 3, so we'll do that in a bit. But see, the idea is this is one way that you can express financial market equilibrium in terms of central bank money, where demand for central bank money is equal to supply for central bank money. Let's look at what the other way is. Right, so let's look at the second way. So we will have to let's erase all of this and let's look at the second way we can express financial market equilibrium. So the second way is where MD is equal to MS. So in terms of overall demand and supply of money. So one way that you can look at financial market equilibrium is where demand of central bank money is equal to supply for central bank money. The other is where overall demand for money is equal to overall supply of money. So you can look at it in terms of M overall money balances or in terms of H central bank money, where we know MD money demand is $Y 0.8 minus 4I. And $5 we know nominal income is 5,000, 0.8 minus 4I. So I can simplify this. We already found this in part A as well, though. 4,000 when you are finding the demand for central bank money. So this is money demand and money supply. Now, in this particular case, right, when we had the first case, we did not have a banking system. So in that case, so the money supply was directly controlled by the central bank. We just fixed it at an amount M. But when you do have a banking system, the central bank directly controls the monetary base and only indirectly controls the money supply. So it fixes the monetary base because it controls it directly and indirectly controls the money supply. In this particular case, the money supply is money multiplier times supply of central bank money. So it directly controls the supply of central bank money and indirectly controls the money supply because the money multiplier is also influenced by the behavior of the public and the banking system. Supply of central bank money. Where the money multiplier, as in the text, is given to us as 1 by C plus theta 1 minus C, where again C is like how much of your total money demand are you keeping in the form of currency, and theta is a reserve deposit ratio, and supply of central bank money, which is HS. Now, we know we're given that C is 0.1, theta is 0.1, and the supply of central bank money is fixed by the central bank at 100. So overall money supply is 526.3, right? So financial market equilibrium can be given as even as like we said, with overall money demand is equal to overall money supply. So we have 4,000 minus 20,000 I is equal to 526.3, right? So in this case, where you do have a banking system, you can write financial market equilibrium either as where overall demand for demand for in terms of central bank money, where demand for central bank money is equal to supply for central bank money. And keep in mind, supply of central bank money is fixed by the central bank, right? At some value h bar. In this case, that was 100. Or you can write it in terms of overall money balances, where overall money demand is equal to overall money supply. And in this particular case, overall money supply is equal to the money multiplier times supply of central bank. So let's do part 2 of this question, where you want to illustrate both these conditions with a graph. So let's do that. So the equilibrium interest rate, so let's do part 2. The equilibrium interest rate will be the same in both the money market and high-powered or central bank money market. Right, so the idea is that, like we said, there are two ways that you can express the equilibrium, either as where HT is equal to HS or MD is equal to MS, right? So regardless of whichever approach you follow, you will end up getting the same equilibrium. So let's graphically show this. So let's have the higher powered or central bank money market, and we have the money market over here. Right, so let's plot this. So here we will have on the vertical axis interest rate I, and we will have central bank money H, and here in our money market, we will have again on the vertical axis interest rate I, and on the horizontal axis money. So let's first plot supply of central bank money, which is vertical at H is equal to 100, right? So we know this is vertical as HS fixed by central bank. And in particular, it does not depend upon interest rate. So it's obviously drawn as a vertical line, does not depend on I. In this case, HS in this case fixed at H is equal to 100. So that's at the vertical line at H is equal to 100. And we have our downward sloping HT, sorry, it's a straight line. In this case, it's not a curve. So this is HT, which is, we found this in part A as 760 minus 3800 I, and we know it's downward sloping, right? So this is downward sloping. So we have a downward sloping demand for central bank money and a vertical supply of central bank money. So in this market, we know the equilibrium where HS is equal to HT that we put in the first B1. So we know this gives us the equilibrium interest rate I star. Now the idea is this equilibrium interest rate would be the same in the money market as well, right? Because both of these are equivalent ways to express money market equilibrium, right? So it would be the same here also, right? So if I make this like this and we take it over here in the money market, so you'll have the same equilibrium interest rate. So let's plot the money supply curve. So it's also vertical because it's independent of the interest rate. And we know the overall money supply is equal to 526.31 that we found, right? This is overall money supply. This is also vertical as it's independent of the interest rate. Take the central bank on fully control it, but it's still independent of I. What it depends upon is a banking system in the public. Critical as independent of I, right? Right, and then we have the downward sloping money demand curve. So this is MD. And we found this also, which is like 4,000 minus 20,000 I. Right, and we know the money demand curve is downward sloping. And we already established this in one of the questions already, the negative relationship between money demand and interest rate response. Because remember, I represents interest rate response, right? So the idea is that you'll get the same equilibrium interest rate, right? We'll solve this mathematically as well to show, but this is the idea, right? So whether you're looking at the money market or the high powered money market in this case, we know, okay, the equilibrium interest rate will be the same because both of these are two equivalent ways of looking at the money market equilibrium condition. So you can either look at where HS is equal to HT, where HS is fixed by the central bank, or where MD is equal to MS. And here keep in mind, how do we find the overall money supply as money multiplier times the supply of central bank money? Because the banking system plays a part in money creation through which we have this multiplier process. So this was part two. Now let's just do the last part where let's find this equilibrium interest rate, right? Which you can find either by equating HT is equal to HS or MD is equal to S. Okay, let's just do the last part now. So the last part says, now we can find the equilibrium interest rate because both of these are equivalent conditions for the money market equilibrium. You can use either. You can find the equilibrium interest rate either using number one, HT is equal to HS, which means that, remember from part one, we saw if we put 760 minus 3800 I, which is our demand for central bank money, equal to 100. So from here we get I star is 0.174 or 17.4%. Or we can put MD is equal to MS, where money demand is 4,000 minus 20,000 I is equal to overall money supply, which is 526.31. So I star is 0.174 or 17.4%. So you can see that just like we showed graphically also, so what we saw graphically, we're showing this now mathematically, we will get the same equilibrium interest rate even if we solve it, right? So the crux from here was that when you do have a banking sector, you can think about the money market equilibrium either in terms of demand and supply of central bank money or in terms of overall money demand and money supply. Both will give us the same equilibrium interest rate.